season starts next week, Tuesday, and I'm pretty sure preseason games are finishing this weekend or maybe by Friday. Not sure. New York just played Connecticut. Indiana just played Atlanta. I got to watch a little bit of those games. Not the New York one. That wasn't broadcasted. But I did watch some of the Atlanta Indiana game. That wasn't bad. That was actually pretty good. That was actually pretty good. It was a pretty good preseason game. What are we doing? I'm doing this video just because I keep seeing this thread online, and I didn't want to give one part of this too much light because I understand that the reason this argument is made is because of feelings and not because of facts. And what is this argument? The argument is that the NBA has no responsibility in supporting the WNBA. Okay, let's just tackle this real quick. Let me just get this out the way because a lot of dudes just argue this not because off of fact. Because if you were to question them, like I questioned them, if you were to question them, like, what do you mean it's not the NBA's responsibility? Like, you realize the NBA still owns the W. You still realize the NBA has responsibility over the W because they have control and sign-off power on the W. Like, you understand that, right? Right. Okay. So why is it not the NBA's responsibility to support the W? Oh, because the W is supposed to do their own thing. They're supposed to grow. Women are supposed to support the W. It's just like, okay, but that doesn't answer my question. You said it's not the NBA's responsibility to support the W, when that's literally the dynamic of their relationship. I guess I have to explain this again. But again, the NBA and the WNBA's relationship, the WNBA is not its own entity. It is not its own company. It is still run by the NBA. The NBA still has sign-off power over it and still has ownership over the WNBA. And like all of you, like a lot of y'all like to say, the NBA, the WNBA would not be here if the NBA wasn't funding it. So it's crazy. I was like, because people keep using that as a diss, and that's not a diss. That's just fact. Like, you're right when you say that. Like, yes, if the NBA decided to pull the plug on the WNBA wouldn't exist. That's a fact. That's not a diss. But if you understand that, then how are you saying that it's not the NBA's responsibility to support the W? So it's like, do you understand it, or are you just promoting your feelings? Because really, it's just a lot of dudes that say like it's not the NBA's job to support it, even though it literally is. A lot of people saying that just because they don't want to see something men-based promote and uplift something women-based. So you're really just, a lot of these people are just arguing feelings over facts. But let's tackle this other side of the argument, which I find it interesting because I had this not argument in a bad way. Well, it made me laugh, but I had this argument with a person online, and they were basically saying it's women's responsibility to uplift and support the WNBA. Yes. But this is where we get it wrong. And I'm actually going to tie this back in with how the NBA has been failing on their responsibility to the W. I'm going to tie this back in, but with this thread of it's women's job to support the WNBA, like more women need to show up. It's like, yes, I'm not saying that they shouldn't. Like, more consumers, the more viewers, the more attention, obviously, the more merch sales, the more ticket sales, more eyes on TV can help with TV deals. Yeah, more women should watch, the WNBA. But that's not the thing that comes first. If you're trying to revolutionize your basketball, your game, or I guess in this instance, the WNBA. It's very rare that the consumer comes first when revolutionizing a game. Like, for the NBA, it wasn't Celtics fans and Lakers fans that were basically going to war with each other, just like, European soccer fans, and throwing flares at each other and shit, and like beating up each other in the stands as to why the Celtics-Lakers rivalry became so big. No, it was the players. It was the product that brought in the fans, that made the consumers actually show up and watch. You didn't even have to be a Celtics or a Lakers fan. You were just like, oh shit, Celtics-Lakers finals, we're tuning into this. It wasn't the consumer in Chicago that said, hey, let's go to the Chicago Bulls game and sell out the arena just to do it because we love the Bulls. Nah, the shit was empty. Jordan gets drafted in 84 and they say, yo, this dude can walk on air, and everyone started showing up. It is very rare that a consumer actually leads the revolution for a game. You get what I'm saying? The only things I could think of where consumers have done that is maybe esports. Because remember, in esports, it was the consumer saying, yo, like, we don't just, this is actually competitive. Like, you can have pros in this, you can have tournaments, you can compete. Like, there are players that want to play pro esports or compete in these tournaments. Like, this isn't just fun and leisure type activity. Like, this can also be very competitive. So there was esports, and the only other one I could really think of is like pickleball, because if I ask you to name a pickleball player, you're probably not going to, I don't know a pickleball player. So those are the only two I could think of, right? But usually in sport, it's never the consumer that leads the change, right? So I was arguing with this dude on social media, and they're just like, yeah, when more women need to show up. Women need to show up. Women need to support. Basically the Bill Burr argument all over again, right? So I asked this dude, what comes first, the talent or the consumer? So I'll ask y'all now, what comes first, the talent or the consumer? And if you're saying the consumer, you're probably lying. You're lying. The talent comes first. Everyone knows the talent comes first because the Jordans come first. Then you get the consumer, right? The Birds, the Magic Johnsons come first. Then you get the consumer. The Luka Doncic comes first. Then you get the consumer. It's very rare that it's consumer first and talent second. And this is part of the reason it's the NBA's responsibility to the W. And this is why people like me, or people that understand this relationship and the dynamic between the W and the NBA, this is what pisses me off. Because the NBA has been doing the bare minimum for the W when it's the talent. It's the talent that brings in the consumer. So what's the talent? When I say the talent, I want you all to think of the product. Like, I want you all to think of the players. What's the product? The players, like the game, right? So when I say the talent, I want you all to think of the players, the product, right? For years, this is what pisses me off about the NBA. For years, the NBA has been trying to like hide their responsibility to the W, absolve themselves of their responsibility to the W, and make it look like it's the W's fault. What have you heard the NBA say about the W? What have you heard Adam Silver himself say about the W? I had this in a previous video myself.
We're not connecting with almost the same demographic that our players are. I'm always saying our players are roughly, let's say, 21 to 34 in that age range. I'm saying, why do you think it is that we're not getting your peers to want to watch women's basketball?
That's wrong. The NBA has been bullshitting for like years, and that's why I keep calling them out about it. Because why is Adam Silver? The NBA has done two things. Remember when Adam Silver like called the WNBA their sister company when the NBA is their parent company? How does that work? How do you? They tried to absolve themselves of the responsibility to the W. The bullshit reasons are so many to count, but I can give y'all a couple. They try to call the W their sister company when they're still their parent company. And Adam Silver himself did the same thing a lot of people out there are doing, trying to say that it's the consumer's responsibility to change the W. So he's asking this, he's on ESPN asking the question, how do we get the consumer to show up? It's not about the consumer yet. It's not about the consumer. Your focus needs to be the product, the talent. So the NBA should be investing in the product, in the talent. The reason I call out the NBA, and before all this, full charter flight stuff has happened, the reason I've been calling out the NBA because again, the NBA is responsible for the resources going into the W, right? And if they're responsible for the resources going into the W, and you want to answer this question, Adam Silver, of how to get more consumers and more women to watch the league, what have you done to up the product? What have you done to make the product more potent? What have you done to make the talent better? You haven't done anything. You've had them flying commercial for the past umpteen years. Your salary, I don't care what you do with your money, NBA, but holy fuck, you buy summer league championship rings for your players, and WNBA salaries are still shite. right? So you haven't fixed the travel. You didn't fix their travel. You didn't even up their salaries. You didn't even help with their marketing and promotion. And now all of a sudden you're like you have people piggybacking the same argument talking about, oh, women need to show up for the league, as if consumers regularly carry sport. That's not how it works. To further prove my point, I'm going to give you all the facts now. It was recent, I think a recent article I read. I'm not even sure how recent, maybe a couple months ago I read this, but an Atlanta executive, or I think Atlanta Dream GM, basically detailed, I'll put a summary up on the screen, that basically if all 12 WNBA owners came together and said they want to make this change for the league and the NBA said no, they wouldn't be able to do it. So that's something I call sign off power. Okay. That means the NBA has say on what goes and what doesn't go. That's sign off power. Now, the NBA still owns 50% of the WNBA teams, but obviously they still fund it, they still run it, so they really still own the W in general, right? So if you own the W in general, just for everyone that's going to say, "Oh, the NBA doesn't have any responsibility for the W," I'll give you this example, right? Let's say you have a billionaire friend, right? You guys want a restaurant. Your billionaire friend has you open up a restaurant, pays for you to open up a restaurant, and says, "Yo, bring in customers, right? Bring in as many customers as you can, right? I got you a restaurant. I got you a restaurant that you can run, right? By yourself. Go ahead and do your thing, right? You go into the restaurant, you see that shit ain't furnished. There's no lobby. There's no fucking furniture. There's nothing. It damn near look like a bando. So you got to start operating this shit, right? You got to start bringing in consumers. And you're just like, yo, like, we going to furnish? Like, I appreciate the restaurant, but are you going to finish, like, decorate? Are you going to, like, put some furniture in there so we can, like, get some people? And your billionaire friend goes, no, you're good. Just start working. While the shit not even complete. So guess what? You start working. You start bringing in consumers. You start bringing in customers, consumers, whatever, right? But you keep telling your billionaire friend, yo, I know you see us, bringing in consumers and customers and stuff like that, and we're gradually like growing every year. But if the restaurant was complete and shit, and if we could like advertise and market ourselves and put ourselves on social media, if we could get some furniture in here, some pictures, you know what I'm saying, make it vibesy, we could probably get more customers. And your billionaire friend goes, no, you're good. Keep doing what you're doing. That's the NBA and the WNBA. The NBA could easily finish furnishing everything, right? The NBA could easily say, here, take this money, fly charter. We're going to bump salaries so that no one's making $70K a year and has to go play overseas and play basketball year round. The NBA could change that themselves. They haven't done that. I'll call out the WNBA for certain things. But the NBA, they've been dropping the ball for a while. So while everyone thinks it's on women and stuff to support the league, that's not the highest priority. The highest priority is never the consumer. It's rare. Let me not say never. It's rarely the consumer, right? It's always the talent. So if you know that the talent changes the game, when the game changes, then the consumer starts coming in and watching, right? If you know it starts with the talent, why aren't you investing in the talent? Why aren't you investing in the product, right? How many WNBA teams have their own respective practice facilities? You could have, NBA billionaire friend, you could have been investing in that. You could be completing the restaurant so that now even more customers and consumers come in. But you don't do that. So it's not on the consumer to change the WNBA. It's not on women to change the WNBA. Yet, for the NBA, a third of viewership is now women, right? I promise you women will be watching the WNBA when the product starts to be taken care of. Hopefully this video, came across clear. Hopefully, I explained myself in the best way possible. But again, I'm not here to my respect goes up for someone if they just came out and said they a fucking hater. Like if they're a misogynist and they said, you know what? Men shouldn't be supporting women. The NBA shouldn't be supporting the W because it's women. Like, I'd actually respect that person other than the person that's just like, no, it's not the NBA's responsibility to fund and support the W when it literally is their responsibility. You get what I'm saying? Like, I support the person that's just like, yep, fuck it, I don't like women. Like, I can respect that person than the person that tries to hide behind, oh yeah, I respect women, but the NBA shouldn't. Like, nah, like, get the fuck out of here. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. That's my thoughts on that. Hopefully, I explained that well. But I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.